Please help me. Take me up and out from this treachery. Take me out from this prison. Help me move. Break me out from this system. Oh, hold me in your arms. Please help me. Lift me up and out to my destiny. Broken thoughts block my vision. Give me help intuition. Watch through my mind's eye. Show me my true light. Lift me up, lift me out. Lift me up, lift me out. Beneath my baseline. Show me my true light. Lift me up, lift me out. Lift me up, lift me out. Wash clean my mind's eye. Show me my true light. Lift me up, lift me out. Lift me up, lift me out. Beneath my baseline. Show me my true light. Lift me up, lift me out. Lift me up, lift me out. Sometimes I didn't listen. Sometimes I walked away. And now I see I don't belong. Now I see I must move on. Show me the way, show me the path, show me the light to see through. Show me the way, give me the clue. Show me the door to find you. Show me the way, show me the path, show me the light to see through. Show me the way, give me the clue. Show me the door to find you. Wash clean my mind's eye. Show me my true light. Lift me up, lift me out. Lift me up, lift me out. Beneath my baseline. Show me my true light. Lift me up, lift me out. Wash clean my mind's eye. Show me my true light.
Wash clean my mind's eye. Show me my true light. Show me my destiny. Tehuti. Peace, 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 and blessings, everyone. And welcome, welcome to you, Yao, from Tuskegee, Alabama. Syed from Belize. TN3123 on our YouTube. And the Divine. Wajahi from Phoenix, Arizona. God does pay. All right, peace, everybody. We're enjoying beautiful sound of one of our KGM members, actually. Talking about wash clean my mind's eye and show me my true light. How fitting for Tehuti Cycle. That is Steam Down from the UK, you know. Part of the KAMITIC Guided Meditation family. All the way across the pond. I'll make sure I put that in the chat for you so you can support them. The group is called Steam Down. We have our brother Anansi and his partner singing. Goes by the name of Afronaut. Yes, yes. Good to see you all. Welcome, welcome to KAMITIC Guided Meditation. If you're just passing through, we want to welcome you to the premier spiritual guided meditation family that is now about a year old. And this is a place where you can get superior guidance from a master teacher with over 50 years of experience in meditation, over 50 years of experience in teaching meditation, and showing the product of opening your mind's eye and being able to receive that inner light and manifesting many blessings. Over 50 books, over 100 musical compositions featuring the ancient words of power from different traditions, including the Taoist healing sounds that tune your inner organs to give you health and vitality, as well as the Hakao, the Bija, the mantras from the ancient traditions in Indus Kush, and bringing the words of power, the Hakao of Kemet, back to life in this time, in these days and times, with 50 years of efficacy of proof. And I'm speaking of Ra'u Neframen, is the founder of the Osaro Set Society, as well as KAMITIC Legacy, and the initiator of the KAMITIC Guided Meditation Program, where we meet 3 times a month, and we meet according to the astrological influence, the cyclical, the cycle, the lunar cycle, that guides us as to what part of our spiritual being, is opening and receptive to us putting our energy, our life force, our focus on it, so that we can eat from the tree of life, the Pau Netaru, nourish ourselves and heal ourselves, so that we can be successful in our earthly endeavors and our most important endeavor according to our ancient ancestors, and that is taking those steps to grow more and more, step by step, into the divine likeness within which we have been made, which they refer to as the Osir. You may have heard the term Osiris. Not a god to be worshipped, but a god state, a oneness with the Supreme Being to be attained, to be achieved in our speech, in our vision, and most importantly, in our actions, embodied by our actions. So every month we come together and we focus on a different aspect according to the cycle, the KAMITIC cycle of manifestation, the lunar cycle. And this month is the cycle of Tehuti, which represents that aspect of our spirit through which we can unite with God and receive guidance, receive wisdom, receive true understanding, so that we can walk our path in life, understanding our true purpose, understanding the meaning of the events in our lives, and how we must bring the proper mindset, the proper consciousness, the proper behavior to each challenge of our lives, that we can lift up and grow. So I want to welcome you. I see we have people from all over the country. We have Shona here from Berkeley, California. Welcome. Chebra Ankh. We have Jordan from the DC, the DMV. Ketnu from Chicago. All right. Welcome, welcome. Leroy Anthony. We have Oakland in the house, Wichita, Kansas, Dallas, Texas. Yes, Phoenix, Arizona, Cincinnati, Ohio. Brooklyn's in the house, Pikeville, Maryland. Los Angeles, Dayton, Ohio. Yes, good to see you all. So without further ado, okay, St. Pete, I see you. And Freeport, Bahamas. All right. It's a wonderful, powerful thing that we can come together. We can stretch across the globe with our spiritual energies. We even have Yonkers, New York. All right, I know you're celebrating. Had your parade today. LA in the house. Durham, North Carolina. We can reach across the globe and join our spiritual hands together, and we can grow together. We can uplift each other. We can share this beautiful experience and have something to share with the world. Palm Beach, Florida in the house, and Jacksonville is represented. So without further ado, as Richmond, Virginia comes in the room, we want to put our psychic, our spiritual, our virtual hands together and welcome the founder of KAMITIC Legacy, our master teacher, affectionately referred to as Shechem or Shechem. That's the KAMITIC title for the leader of the nation. Our master teacher, Ra-Un Nefer. Amen. Tepu and a Netcharak to you, Shechem or Shechem.
Peace and blessings to you. And thank you for such a wonderful introduction. Can't go wrong with such a powerful introduction, right?
Well, you make my job easy. And that was one of our KGM members giving me some beautiful background music with a spiritual message to it.
Oh yeah. We need to do more to promote these artists, you know?
Yes.
We need to work on that. Yes, absolutely. We had them all over the globe, you know?
Yes.
Every city, state of the world, we have phenomenal performers bringing higher consciousness music.
The message in the music. So important.
Go ahead, sir.
So important. So as important as our topic tonight, this aspect of our spirit is so very important. And it is actually featured in the illustration on one of your most famous books, which for those of you who are not familiar, we pronounce this as Medu Neter, and this is volume 1 of a 7-volume set. And on the cover, we see the image of this ibis-headed figure, ibis-headed man, who is Tehuti, and Tehuti is our subject tonight. So I'm going to step aside and get my notepad and get ready to hear so much more enlightenment on this subject matter.
Yes. You opened up talking about that they're not deities to be worshipped. These agents, Tehuti, also, are not deities to be worshipped. They're metaphors for different aspects of the spirit. And the so-called God or Neter, angel of wisdom, Tehuti, is represented by an ibis. This does not represent in any way animal worship or animal sacrifice. You know, the ibis is a beautiful bird that stands on one leg for hours and hours, you know, in shallow waters. You see them all over Africa and so on, you know, and they're meditating. So this metaphor, a graphic metaphor for the practice of meditation. Standing on one leg, in one position, focus on the reflection that it is seeing in the waters. So let's get into the substance of tonight's lecture, which will prevent you for next Thursday's meditation. You sure don't want to miss this one. So we're going to focus on that aspect of Tehuti in the initiation system that is focused on cultivating the ability to hear the voice of God. I said hear, not read, some document explaining what God is all about and God's teaching, but explaining to us how we can develop the ability to hear the voice of God, which is different from reading a document that explains the teachings of God. This is actually the true essence of the Tehuti meditation. And this essence is explained in a kind of a hidden way in the title of Tahuti, which I said earlier is a speaker of divine words. See that? Meaning that the word of God was not finally, in its finality, meant to be read about, but to be heard. It is a source of that aspect of spirituality that speaks about intuition. Intuition, being guided from within. Most people today, are renounced to the idea that their encounter and engagement of spirituality is reading information about God, about the spirit and the spiritual life. But at the end of the day, the real goal is for you to be able to hear God so that God can guide you, um, in movement. As you're moving through situations in life, you want to be able to have God's voice in the background guiding you. Like when you're about to do something wrong, you hear a voice that says to you, you don't want to do that. We call that the voice of conscience. The voice of conscience was actually the so-called voice of conscience is the voice of God. And the voice of God is not limited to teach you from within about what you're about to do wrong or to support what you're doing right, because it's a part of the conscience as well. The voice of God is there to teach you reams and reams and volumes of information that will enable you to embrace your life in a spiritual way. I have written about some 40 books on spirituality. Those books the information in those books were taught to me by this voice I'm talking to you about. You see that? If you can go through my books very carefully, you will find that there's not a man or woman that could come up at any time and says that he taught me these things. You see that I sat at their feet to learn these things. You see that? In other words, most of these things I learned from a voice guiding me from within. Most of the things that I learned to do in the right way and the mistakes I learned to correct along the way came from a voice speaking to me from within. I was intuitive. So the idea of hearing the voice of God might be strange to most of you because you have been brought up to engage with God by reading about God's teachings as opposed to hearing God's voice as you're hearing my voice now. Not as resonance, but you will hear that soft, beautiful voice explaining to you the tree of life, explaining to you the angels and archangels, explaining to you all the facets and aspects of spirituality. And as you go through your life, as you give in to the affirmations that this voice is making about the things you need to do, the affirmations are the things that you need to correct, the affirmations are the things that you need to make your ID, your identity. And at the same time that you have this beautiful voice guiding you from within, and you're hearing these affirmations of truth, you see, to help you. At the same time, you are rejecting affirmations, you see, that promote you as a divine, as a human being. And that's the problem. You see that we have, this system, this mental processing going on within our mind, where thoughts just drift in. There's a voice, and voices that drift into your awareness, affirming that you are a human being, that you are subject to your emotions, that you are subject, you see, to doing the wrong things. And you need to learn to suppress and rise above those voices and pay attention and give your energy and time to that voice that comes to you in the quiet times of meditation, or when you are just walking down the street in a leisurely walk, that voice teaching you about the spiritual life and reinforcing to you the brilliant and beautiful teachings that you must engage. And this is how we cultivate. In other words, this class here tonight is the beginning of an initiation system where you learn to cultivate hearing the voice of God. So far, you've cultivated the ability to respond to being taught by the Word of God as you find in books and lectures from teachers, whatever. But you want to now cultivate the ability to hear this voice that teaches you from within your spirit, from within your psyche. You see that? Affirming the 11 laws, the laws that together add up to your divine identity, what you look like as a divine being. So on one hand, you want to respect that voice that affirms that you are a divine being, and reject those voices that affirm that you're a human being. By learning to respect the divine thought drifts and learning to reject the human, and animalistic thought drifts, you will develop the ability to hear God speaking to you. This is nothing new. Patanjali, the author of the yoga meditation system, writing some 2,000 years ago, opens up in his book by saying that the yogi, by suppression, what they call the chitta vrittis, meaning those thought drifts that come into your awareness, this is daily, and many times during the day, when you learn to suppress and reject those thought drifts, you see that, and actually a voice of vocal drifts, because what Patanjali is speaking about are the voices that you hear, the teaching that you hear from this voice within you. When you learn to rise above it and suppress it, then you will come face to face with God, meaning that you will experience what Patanjali calls yoga. You see, the word yoga means to yoke, to unite. And yoga, in the words of the illustrious author, yoga is not a process of, different, poses and breathing. Those are means to an end. The goal of yoga is for you to become one with God. It is in black and white in his book, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, meaning that the goal of yoga, according to the author of the book, the goal of yoga was for you to realize the ability to have God talk to you, and you talk back to God. You see that? And in the KAMITIC system, you see, you talk to God, and God talks to you through the Tehuti faculty. Not only is Tahuti the giver of science and mathematics and architecture and so on, as taught in the various authors that translated the ancient works. Tahuti is essentially, the means through which God will speak to you, talk to you, and guide you through your life. Not only in spiritual things, but in your mundane concerns, your finances, your relationships, your wars, whatever is it that you are engaged in and have to come out victorious, the wisdom faculty Tehuti is there to talk you through the process. And if I'm repeating myself, it's because I'm very much aware that I'm dealing, that this material is new to most of you, and I don't want you to miss any part of it, by the time we are finished this evening. So another means of you developing the ability to talk with God and hear God's voice is respecting and obeying the voice of conscience that you call conscience instead of consciousness. You see that? People have been taught in this country, in this world today, to ignore the voice of conscience. You're about to do something and you hear this little voice, in the background says to you, you don't want to do that, that is incorrect. And you say, oh, that's conscience, that's the voice of conscience. So you lower its value, you lower its importance, and oftentimes do not listen to that voice. You see that? But it is consciousness, which is what you are. You are consciousness. You are that which is conscious, you see. And the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali teaches you how to ignore thought that drifts in so you can focus your full attention, you see, on the source of the thoughts that come into your awareness. And once you focus your attention on them to reject them, you find yourself conscious of being conscious of being conscious. You see that? Meaning that there's nothing left but you being aware that you are the consciousness that is conscious of being conscious. Consciousness. God speaking to you. Because one of the most important goals of meditation, and by the way, meditation is not that technique of you just chilling out and getting super relaxed and enjoying your day or your evening, or maybe de-stressing. Meditation is a means of you developing the ability to integrate your life with the 11 aspects of God in your spirit. And finally, the 11th, the 12th reality is for you to integrate with yourself, meaning, being conscious of being conscious of being conscious. That is that point of meditation that the yogic sages call samadhi samprajnata nirvikalpa samadhi. Meaning it's a state of being aware that all that really is real is that which is conscious of being conscious, so therefore it loses time, ceases to exist for that person, meaning there's no segueing of breathing from this point to that point. Everything stands still. The eternal, the infinite. So next week, we're going to go over this material that I'm speaking to you about. We're going to go into trance with the mantra of Tehuti, On Hum Sharing. That's On Hum Sharing. That will explain to you in the next, in the period when you're waiting to receive your preparation for next week's meditation. And it's important for you to understand that it is the meditation that will deliver the understanding of what you're hearing today, meaning that at some point we want to go beyond, intellectualizing and having an intellectual understanding or grasp of the material to being able to really understand what the material is really about, what life is all about. So we have this wonderful faculty called Tehuti. Some people say Jehuti, okay, but Tehu, okay, means to weigh. T means double, two, that which is done twice. You see that? So Tehuti is the faculty through which you weigh information, through which you cogitate. You see that? Information totally and fully from within. You see, nothing is done on the outside of you. That might be a strange idea, but through meditation, you will experience it, and this is what you have to prepare yourself for. This is understanding something once you experience it. Many of you want to wait till you understand it before you experience it, but the experience will lead you to the understanding. So at this point here, I will suspend. What I've been speaking about. There's more that I would like to share with you. But at this point, I'd like to take some calls, questions that you may have, as well as experiences that you've had with Tehuti meditations, or with any other meditation that you have done with us and you need some clarity.
All right, thank you so much. So again, if you're just joining us, we're with Ra'u Nefer Amen, the author of the Medunatir 7-volume series, as well as 50 other books on Kamitic and other aspects of meditation and ancient wisdom, and also the author of the meditation music and composition that's actually brought back together the words of power to guide us in our meditations that we use in the Kamitic Guided Meditation program. So we want to welcome you. This is a free class that we have as session 1, and it will be followed with 2 more classes in this cycle. The first, the next one, next Thursday, will be an actual guided meditation, and then we will follow up with a sharing session for question and answer, and most importantly, the feedback, the testimonials, which have been just fantastic as we go through this process together. So if you have a question, if you have something to share from your past experience with the Tehuti meditation or with KGM that might tie into the theme that we're talking about, please type your question into the chat so that we can bring that up for everyone to see and get your questions answered. In the meantime, Master Teacher, I'd like to kick things off with the questions. You brought up the topic of intuition, which we are receiving means to be taught from within. Can you speak a little bit about the distinctions? Because it seems like there's many levels. For example, someone might call another person, and the person pick up the phone and say, wow, I knew you were going to call. I just felt like, I was just thinking of you and you called, Then we have premonitions where, a lot of times we kind of get a sense, whether it's a voice or whether it's an image of something that will happen, before it happens. At the same time, we have, artists, authors that will say, the information in my book, and it might be a trivial book or it might be a fictional work. It might have nothing to do with higher principles or spirituality, but very ingenious plots and things. And they'll say, well, it just comes to me when I get into the mode. And then the last part, not last, but in this idea of intuition, We also have people that have intuited scientific knowledge that has been put to very evil uses. So can you just elaborate on what are the levels of this intuition? And again, I know you did mention it, but how do we distinguish, or how do we prepare ourselves to receive the higher intuitions as opposed to the everyday or these other experiences that may or may not have anything to do with our spiritual, with spiritually uplifting, laws and principles?
Very, very, very good question. And what we have to understand is, the word intuition is a word that was concocted by the Romans. It's Italian, and Spanish, source word, which was not what it represents, what it defines and depicts, was not clearly, explained. You see that, meaning that the word was not scholarly defined. So what happens is that it has been used for, let's say, divine tuition. It has been used for spiritual tuition. It has been used for, the reproduction and the mental processing that cogitates and turns information around in your head, which can lead to negative behavior and ideas and so forth, as you've pointed out. So the word, was coined originally, in ancient times to represent being taught by God or a spirit. But as the thousands of years pass, the word is being used has been expanded to anything that comes from within, without discriminating what part of the within, mind, psyche, spirit, whatever have you. So it's important that when we speak about the importance of intuition and that you will receive intuition, we have to make sure that we make it clear that we're talking about the intuition that you receive from the divine spirit and from God, just not whatever thought pops into your mind. Most people's minds are in this place.
Right. And speaking of that, you mentioned something that I know it's mentioned in some of the scripture. You mentioned God's guidance in our different enterprises and even in war. And this is something that we are facing. It's not new. The so-called divine justification for the killing of others and the taking of their resources.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out that intuition is generally a subjective experience, a subjective process. And since you can be taught by wayward things within you, the ancestors, developed what is today called oracle systems, which are objective means, of you verifying, intuitions that come to you that you might, without an objective, source, of to critique it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that information, because it comes from within, is good, and you end up, hurting yourself and others. You see that.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, intuitions must be checked by objective sources, and that is one of the important purposes of articles like the Baduna, articles like the I Ching, and so on.
Mm-hmm. So we have Shechem Tehuti Eakut Amen on our webinar room. He's a member of KAMITIC Guided Meditation Group, and he says, can you please elaborate on how Kemet developed prophets? at Sphere 2 of the Paut Neteru, who also occupied the Court of Justice in the Nile Valley. And he asks about a dynastic reference for that. So the concept of a prophet, I think, was mentioned as well in your works.
Yeah. In other words, the prophets, were priests who were trained, in the oracle systems, in the spiritual system, and the ritualistic system as well. So they could intuit, what was going on in your mind. It's like, for example, in 1985, 11-hour trance that I went through, I brought forth the Medunity Oracle. You see that? So any man or woman who's capable of bringing out, channeling an oracular system, or uncanny wisdom about an oracle system, is considered a prophet. As a matter of fact, every court event in Kemet, was adjudicated by 40 or 42 judges. You see that? And all of these judges had to be part, of the conference, of ritualistic council, of ritualistic system, I should say, right? That trained these, people to become prophets at the same time. Not only judges, but oracles themselves. And they used to vie with each other to see which of the prophet, which of the judge could, resemble most likely Tehuti himself. You see that?
Mm.
So the training that he's asking about is a priesthood training, as well as a legal system training.
Too. Did that consist of meditation as we know it today?
I'm not hearing you if you're speaking.
Oh, sorry. I said this training and initiation that you're speaking of, is that part of a meditation system as well? Was meditation part of that?
Well, you remember that I have a Medunity Volume 4, right?
Mhm.
Where it's an outline of the initiation system of ancient Egypt, okay? And the initiation system was based on, the student mastering the teachings and developing the skills that were associated with each sphere of the tree of life, or sphere, of the Paut and then the other trees beside the tree of life. You see that, okay? Like the tree of pre-creation system, which is the Tehuti tree itself, and also the solar stone. So the whole thing here is that the initiation system, if you want to understand it, get a hold of the Medunity Volume 4, where all of the steps, the 11 steps, you see that, are explained. You can take yourself through, an initiation by yourself until we support it once more again. The other thing I want to point out to you, since you've raised the question of initiation, processing, initiation, and that 33 degrees is 11 times 3. You see that, where the Masons may not know it, but they are being taught in a guided, hidden manner, the teachings that are associated with the 11 laws, of the spirit. That's why there's a 33-degree Masonic system.
Mm-hmm. So I hear you hinting at the future. When you started earlier and you spoke about this was the beginning of an initiation or an introductory aspect of what would be an initiation system. Is this something that our KGM members can look forward to in the future?
Oh yes, we are. Right now, we're taking care of some financial processes that we have to put in place. You see? And but once we get going this fall here, we're going to go back to our full-blown initiation system that we had in place years ago. Not only for
Right.
society members, but for the public, itself. And it will combine the Taoist teachings, the Kemetic systems, as well, as the yogic system of Indus Kush. And it's we call it ecumenical initiation or ecumenical world initiation, because they're going to dip into the wisdom teachings everywhere, even from Western science, which is not joining Western science. Science is now joining the spiritual realm, where we find that there are a lot of spiritual truths being verified by Western science. For
Yes.
example, people who still believe that indulging anger, for example, is a good thing. They say a necessary thing, normal thing. But Western science is showing that if you indulge, the minute you indulge anger, you're destroying your nervous system, your metabolic, vital organs. You're lowering your IQ and doing foolish and crazy things and so on. So Western science is going to be hijacked into, uh, the initiation system as well.
Yes. Hard to justify God becoming angry once we look at that scientifically.
Exactly so.
So we have Brother Barron. Brother Barron, who's one of our KGM members, joining us in the webinar room. And he asked the question, how do we differentiate what is Tahuti and what is our lower self when faced with a difficult situation and we are trying our best not to let others disrespect our boundaries? He says, wow, maintaining the mindset of Oser. And Shechem, you have mentioned in your works that Tahuti was the one that settled quarrels and differences.
Yeah, but you see, the problem here is that a person is using their will and their mind to cope with their emotions. You see that? No, in other words, you use your breathing, your breath, your breathing system. You see that? All emotions can be quelled immediately by deep diaphragmatic breathing, deep, slow diaphragmatic breathing, and other breathing techniques such as zazen and so on. All of these emotions that berserk you can be abolished in a few seconds, in less than a minute or two, by by the correct way of breathing. As long as you try to fight an emotion with your thoughts and your will, you're going to lose. Most of the time, you will lose that battle. And if you win the battle, you lose the war down the road. I can't hear you at all.
Okay, and we have Teresa's who says, thank you for the gem you wrote about the 50th edition of Nuditaire Volume 1, where you were saying that lowering the breath to 3 breaths per minute in meditation helps to open up the intuition of the Tehuti faculty.
That's one of the adjuncts of the technique. And she speaks about lowering the breath, right, which is hidden by the metaphor of Kali Yuga. And the thing is that, each rate of breathing, 23 breaths per minute or 11 or 7, or 3 or whatever, each rate corresponds to a specific brain wavelength. They say that. And so as you lower or raise, your breath, your rate of breathing, you're also lowering or raising, your brain wave. And this is a master key, the breath is a master key to controlling the brain. You see that? And that is why the system is called to respirate. The word respiration hides the word spirit in it. You see that? So if you want to manipulate spirit, the spirit within you, learn to control your breath and make sure that the system that you're using, is a well properly defined system. A lot of charlatans out here teaching people breathing techniques and doing a very, very shoddy job of it. And the breathing is connected to the cardiovascular system. So if you breathe the wrong way, especially in systems that encourage holding the breath for a long time, you can do a lot of harm to yourself and to the student. But the way to control the brain is through the vagus nerve, you see, which is the master nerve that governs, your state of consciousness.
Okay, and we have Brother Frank, one of our KGM members. He says, in volume 2 of the Meditationes, you write that we must understand the difference between thinking and knowing. You must shut down the thinking process, quote unquote. What are some of the tools that will help know and hear the voice of God?
Okay, I said it in the lecture here earlier. You see, you start off by rejecting the voice of man within you, rejecting the voice of the animal within you, meaning that, I gave several weeks ago, or maybe 2-3 months ago, I gave an assignment to the students to pay attention to the thoughts that drift in, to the awareness called for throughout the day, every day. You see that? So if you pay attention, you will find that you receive a lot of thoughts, liken you to a human being. Oh, I'm only human, I can't help myself. I'm only human, I can't help getting angry. I'm only human, I couldn't resist that chocolate cake, even though the doctor said that I might die of diabetes and so on. So you have these thoughts that drift in. These are thoughts that come from you, the human. You see that? So, when first you master the 11 laws of God, and any thought that drifts into your awareness, you see, negating, any of the 11 laws, those must be rejected and countered by you, affirming over and over the different laws that you find your thought drifts, are interfering with. And this process over time will develop your ability to hear the voice of God, because you're no longer listening to the voice of you. You see that? You no longer listen to your voice or the thoughts that were put in your mind by society at large. You see that? You also have God speaking to you, and you call it your conscience. No, that's God. So learn to acknowledge, the presence of God when your conscience is telling you that something that you are partaking in is incorrect. You see that? You also, you have oracle readings, the Dunatir, and eating readings in your life, spiritual readings. Okay, obey them, because those are the word of God as well. So learn to obey the word of God wherever you find it. And eventually you find yourself that it will choke off and get rid of the voice of you and the voice of ignorant society that has conditioned you to accepting lies as truths.
So we have a testimonial. We have Renee Collins, who's one of our KGM members, with us on YouTube. Renee says, I can attest to the teachings. Due to the winter solstice meditation, I was and still am able to hear the voice of God guiding me. And there is objective proof through the oracles.
Absolutely.
On that subject, Shechem Shechem, I know some years ago you said something in a lecture that was very powerful, and has helped me a great deal. And you were talking about meditating to discover an answer to a problem or a question, direction in life, whatever it might be. And I believe you phrased it as to be able to expect something without looking for it. Can you speak about those situations where we might not be fighting against the human voice or oppressed by an emotion, but we're just not clear on our direction. We're not clear on how to handle a situation. Sometimes people even get an oracle reading and they're not clear on exactly what is being said. How do we approach that in meditation to be able to receive that direction?
Well, the faculty that is a source of guidance, answers to questions, is the Tehuti faculty within you. So the first step is for you to make sure that you have a clear understanding of the Tehuti law. The law of Tehuti is part of your spirit. You see that? So once you have that information, you can get that information in the 11 laws of God. You see that, and other course material that we have on the 11 faculties of the spirit. So then you'll learn to do the meditation, and once you apply it to the subject that you're seeking guidance in, it will come. Just be consistent with the studying, consistent with the meditation, and you will find the answer.
All right, and then we have Goyo from California, one of our KGM members, and he says, greetings, and he says, can you please go over Ma'at being the complement / sister / wife of Tahuti? How is this truth to be understood and followed and practiced?
First of all, it's a metaphor, right? It's not a pitch for polygamy. It's a metaphor, meaning that you said Tehuti and Ma'at deal with the law. Tehuti, is a part of the spirit that will inform you which law you need to use, or the science behind a particular process. That's the source of Tehuti. Ma'at also deals with the laws, but in the sense that, Ma'at is the architecture, of the geometry, the geometrical, projection of the legal system. In other words, when we study the tree of life, the Botanical, we find that, the meaning of Oser is the opposite of the meaning of Oser. The meaning of Ma'at is opposite of Heru. The meaning of Heteru is the opposite of, sacred, and so on. And when we add up the numerical value of our role, our position of these Neteru, we find that they all add up to 10. So there's what we call a geometrical projection of the arraignment, of the Neteru on the tree. You see that? And that is why the medieval European, scientists and spiritual teachers said that God geometrizes, because they saw the numerical system, the geometrical system that is behind, underneath the tree of life. They saw it reproduced in many of the formulas, algebra, and so on.
Well, as a mathematician, I'm sure he can appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
So I did want to revisit something that you brought up, and you published it in your new edition. And those of you that are just joining us, those of you that are on YouTube or our Instagram, we want to welcome you. This is Committed Guided Meditation featuring Ra'u Nefer Amen, who is the CEO and founder of Comedic Legacy, which sponsors this meditation program. Every month we experience 3 meditation sessions, one actual guided meditation that we're preparing for tonight, with the preliminary session explaining the meditation faculty that we're focusing on. And then we follow up the guided meditation with a question and answer and a sharing of results of the actual efficacy of this process, which has been great. So we're inviting you to join us. We have an open house tonight. That's why you're seeing us on YouTube and Instagram. Next week we will be in a Zoom room for members only. So I'll give you some information where you can get a taste of what we do on our free site. And if you want to join us next week, then you can become a member for $25 a month, less than $1 a day. You get to join this powerful family. Thank you, Dakar, on Facebook. And with that in mind, Shechem, I'm sure we have some visitors or people that are viewing this, that when you say words like oracle, divination, Ifa, I King, that this is not a language that they're familiar with. And I would like you to explain that just a little bit, if you could. But also, you made reference to the channeling of the Medunatere Oracle. And again, if you're just joining us, this is the 50th anniversary edition of the landmark work Medunatere Volume 1, which came with an oracle system. And in the book, and tonight you referenced it, you had over an 11-hour meditation experience where you received an oracle. Can you share with those that are not familiar with what you're speaking about what an oracle system is, and a little bit of how this process came into being and how you verified that it was accurate before releasing it to the public?
Yes, an oracle, is a system, a device that enables people to tap into their spirit, where you will find the knowledge of how things, will unfold as time progresses. Meaning, at the moment of birth, or even before we are born, in your spirit and your psyche and your mind is imprinted the important experiences that you must go through in order to have a good life. Meaning, at the moment that you are born, or even before then, an oracular diviner can sit down with your mother and say, well, when this person comes into this world, they're going to be challenged, let's say, with mathematics. So make sure that they get special teaching in mathematics, you see, that other kids don't need. You see that? Or from the moment of birth, somebody could say, when you become a grown person, you're going to have problems with in your marriage because you have a wanderlust. You see that? Or that your business might tend to go south and lose all your money you get because, there are people, that are helping to run your business and they shouldn't be. So all of these hidden things that are hidden to the outer view, are already imprinted in your psyche, in your mind and your spirit, and that information can be retrieved by certain devices. Ifa, for example, and the I Ching, they use symbols that are the same, as the computer mathematical system, the system that's used in computers, the mathematical system. I'm not a mathematician as such, so maybe Goyo can explain that better. But the Yoruba Ifa system and the Ijing have a binary mathematical system, supporting it. You see, and it's one and the same as with computers, and it's uncanny how both systems, the binary mathematics system that is using computers and the IFA and Ijing system, can be used and have been used, by mathematicians, long, long before there were computers. You see, Medunachir, on the other hand, uses, a fivefold mathematical base and so forth, and so the important thing though is for them to understand that we're talking about, systems that are confirmed in practice, and when the oracle first came to me in 1985, when it was a Sunday morning, Saturday night or Sunday morning, I asked it, I said, who sent you? And it said, Mahat. And I said, what's your purposes? And it said, I came to save the world. So I said, So I drew the cards for my student priests and priestesses and taught them the system. And I had them do readings for 5 years. You see that? With the goal to see if the system was consistent and accurate. And lo and behold, it was very accurate. And to this day, after so many years, the oracle has been used. Medunachir oracle system has been used all over the world. And it has proven itself to be highly accurate, not only in what it prognosticates, but even the spiritual counsel that you receive from it. You see that, and it also has a sense of humor. It's like, for example, there are 11 faculties of the spirit, and after some 50-something years of a drought, the Knicks finally win a championship, and I believe the insignia or the number on the captain of the Knicks was 11.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And one of my students pointed out to me and it says, it's even in there. And we have seen this humor in the oracle system guiding events in the world, taking credit for things in the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. So for those who have been steered away from things like astrology or divination or, told that these things are trafficking with lower entities and so on, what would you say to them? It's been a heavy conditioning around that.
Well, we're living in the 21st century, and medicine is moving into the field, of verification through facts. So people who want to, speak out against the oracles, they need to get back in. They need to get up into the 21st century and understand that whatever people are affirming, they need to verify it. Just bring the proof. Because on the other hand, we have and the spiritual oracles, they're not spirits. Whereas spirituality is a very high level of science. You see that once you approach it correctly and begin to unite it, okay, with the new scientific principles that are being discovered every day. Just that.
Yes, and on that note, I did want to ask you this question as we're speaking about Tehuti tonight. Some people pronounce that Jehuti. We're speaking about Tehuti, that aspect of our spirit that is known as the speaker of divine words, or the Medu Neter. And in your book of the same title, Medu Neter, this is the volume 1, for those of you just joining us, that is now released in a 50th anniversary edition. You mentioned when you're speaking in your introduction, you said that Medu Neter was translated into divine glyphs, quote unquote, or hieroglyphs, from the belief that the Egyptian hieroglyphs possessed magical powers, a belief held by many counting from antiquity to the present. Although the Greeks never proved their belief, I accomplished the feat in the book, as you will later see. And then you said, looking at hieroglyphs from the perspective of symbols, its value can be updated by considering the use of symbols in psychiatry. It is well known that symbols have been used to look deeply into the mind and psyche of the seriously ill, demented patients, as well as healthy individuals. So the hieroglyphic representation on the cards, or in the Medu Neter, in the writing, can you just share again and elaborate on how the symbols go beyond just a definitive meaning like a regular word?
The symbols, you talk about in the Medu Neter oracle system or in the hieroglyphic system?
In the hieroglyphic system that you're speaking about in the introduction there.
Well, first of all, there are about some 300-400 hieroglyphs. So some of them have spiritual import, others are very mundane. So you got to separate them. Otherwise, you're going to be stretching things too far to explain certain things that are not connected. But the other point that I want to make here, is that, yes, science, the psychiatrists especially have found that, symbols are, important, effective techniques for communicating with the lower, the deeper part of man's mind and spirit and psyche in their work. You see that? Very straightforward, thoughts, excite the left hemisphere of the brain and block the psychiatrist from going deep into the mind of the client. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, modern science is catching up. You see, with ancient hieroglyphic system. You see that? And another way of understanding this is that you take let's go back to the I Ching with 64 hexagrams, and E file, and I said that they both use the binary mathematical systems as well as the geometrical patterning, of the DNA and the what's the other word for the DNA? The genetic system. It's a
Genetic code, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same mathematical code as the oracles. Yes, So we find. As a very, we can say that science has already through the DNA and binary mathematics and so forth, AI and so forth, they have really proven the mathematical and scientific basis of a oracular system, just that we live in a world where the scientists are not very quick to share that with the world at large. You see that? But the simple fact that in many cases, it would cost them their job. You see that? Or their gig. But nothing is stopping you from going and learning yourself.
Wow. All right. So before we get instructions on next week's meditation. David Diamond asks a question. He says, our sessions don't always line up with the changing of the meters. Not sure what you mean by that. When practicing, should we change our meditation to follow the journal calendar or stay with the class schedule? Our class schedule, meaning we are now in the Tehuti cycle. That's why we're having session 1. We're in the Tehuti phase of the moon, not phase of the moon, but the lunar cycle. And that's why we're doing Tehuti. I'm not sure where the discrepancy is there.
I think you
yes.
might change it of the networks.
Oh, netter instead of, meter. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to follow the calendar as you have explained it. Because that's the foundation, the means of guiding the student as to, what principle, we are working at this time.
Right, so there's a calendar, there's a journal that documents exactly what the phases are of the cycles. So, for example, the Tahuti new moon was on the 14th, so we're meeting today on the 18th. So yeah, we don't meet like right before the new moon, but with your calendar you can anticipate what it is that's coming up. And we also have now 12 months of a library that you have access to as a KGM member. So again, if you're just checking in with us, you get not only the 3 sessions a month, you also get access to our previous sessions. So let's say last month when we were dealing with Herukuhutis, that faculty, that material is still available. So if you needed that, if you had a reading or some other reason to do that meditation, you would have access to that. And Ottawa, Canada has checked in, Shechem. And also, okay, someone says, which Orisha in the Ifa system connects to the faculty of Tehuti?
That is Ifa, the god of wisdom. Good. Yeah? Ifa.
Ifa, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so are there some instructions you want to share before for people to prepare for next week?
Well, if they have any of my other books, they should brush up on the meaning of Tehuti and what it covers, and so on. They will find out, they will receive a broader perspective of how they can make use of this faculty in their lives. You see that? In other words, Tehuti, think of Tehuti as a great teacher. In other words, if you're studying physics and you're working with the Tehuti law and meditation and so on, eventually you can become an Einstein. You see that? Because, the great talent is the same thing as wisdom. The source of great talent comes from the source of wisdom itself. You see that? So Tehuti is the part of the spirit that awakens the genius within you. You see that? If you're a mathematician, if you're a painter, if you are, an agricultural, agent or whatever, you'll find that the Tehuti faculty will elevate your level of insight and wisdom and make you a better artist, a better scientist, a better whatever you choose to be. So with this, I bid you a beautiful week and a blessed, time, in your life, because this is where we are right now. We are at a point where, AI is blossoming and a lot of free information out there, on the Taoist system, on the KAMITIC system, that you can now acquire, and eventually they want to make this information, available only to the rich.
Mhm.
You
Yes,
see that?
yes.
So use it now and take full advantage of it to elevate yourself spiritually, financially, and whatever other means you need to be protected. We're living in times where, you know, people on the lowest, you know, part of the ladder are going to experience greater challenges and the greater spiritual tools that you have at your disposal, you will be better off.
All right, let's put our virtual hands together and give some appreciation to Ra'un Nefer Amen. It is indeed a rare opportunity to sit with someone of such majestic experience of 52 plus years of teaching meditation, guiding students, publishing works on meditation, and bringing the receipts with the works that has been produced, culminating in an actual oracle system. So we appreciate you. We greet you in the words of Kemet, Anech Harak, power, peace, blessings, strength, health, and longevity in continuing your great work. Thank you so much. And we look forward to having your guided meditation next Thursday, 8 p.m. Next Thursday, 8 p.m. So thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you very much. Peace and blessing.
All right, y'all. Thank you for being with us. Again, if you're new, this is the Kamitic Guided Meditation Spiritual Family, available anywhere in the world through the power of the internet. You can join us by going to this site that's on your screen right now, bit.ly/start KGM. That stands for Kamitic Guided Meditation. $25 a month. You know, I saw an article the other day, devastating illustration of how much time people are spending on their screens. I know you're on your screen right now, but they're talking about the scrolling in 7 or 15 or 30-second increments that is actually destroying people's ability to pay attention, to focus, especially our younger people. So I really encourage you to, if you're not a devout meditator, if you're not determined to take total control of your mental space, right, and to create that inner discipline of focusing on your inner work, your consciousness, internalizing, expanding your consciousness through the practice of meditation, and helping us to spread the word on this, whatever form of meditation you can get into. But this committed guided meditation is proven, it is powerful, and we appreciate you joining with us and spreading the word. Yes, you can go to Ra'un Nefer Amen's YouTube channel, Facebook and Instagram page for more information. But join us, bit.ly/start KGM, and we'll see you in the webinar room. You'll get an email, you'll get a portal with an archive of 11 months of meditations on all the different faculties of the Paut Neteru, the Tree of Life, as well as your current information. This recording will be posted there. This recording will also live on our YouTube channel. So if you only caught part of it, or if you're driving or engaged in something, you'll be able to go back and review this. So with that, let us say goodnight with the beautiful sound of steam down. And we'll see you next week. Tepu.